My wedding was being live-streamed when Brandon rejected me at the altar, calling me too fat and ugly to marry in front of everyone I'd ever known. 300 guests recorded my destruction for social media. Then a stranger appeared in the doorway, 6 feet of lethal elegance, and every powerful person in that room went pale, like they'd seen death walking. He strode down the aisle, wiped my tears, and announced he was marrying me instead. But when I asked why, his answer chilled me. "I've been watching you for 6 months, Kesha. Now that I have you, I'm never letting go." I had no idea if I'd just been saved or claimed by something far more dangerous. What I discovered about this man in the next 24 hours changed everything. You need to hear what happened next. "I don't!" he exclaimed. The words sliced through the Miami wedding hall like a knife through butter. Kesha's hands trembled as she held her bouquet of white roses. Her heart hammered so hard she thought everyone could hear it. The priest blinked in confusion, his mouth hanging open like a fish. "Excuse me," the elderly man asked, adjusting his glasses. Brandon turned to face the 300 guests packed into the luxury hall. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above them. The afternoon sun poured through massive windows overlooking the ocean. Everything was perfect, everything except the groom. "I said, I don't want to marry this woman," Brandon announced loudly. His voice bounced off the marble floors and gold-trimmed walls. "Look at her. She's enormous. I was forced into this arrangement by our families, but I refuse to spend my life with someone so ugly." Gasps erupted from every corner of the room. Kesha felt like someone had dumped ice water over her head. Her beautiful white dress, the one she spent months choosing, suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not in front of all these people. Her mother jumped up from the front row. "Brandon, how dare you?" His father stood too, his face bright red. "Son, we had an agreement." "I don't care about your business deal, Dad," Brandon shot back. He pointed at Kesha like she was garbage on the street. "I'm not marrying her. Find someone else to merge companies with." "I'm done." The tears came then, hot and fast, rolling down Kesha's cheeks and ruining her makeup. She had known Brandon didn't love her. Their families arranged this marriage to join their father's companies. But she thought he would at least be kind. She thought maybe, eventually, they could become friends. She never imagined he would humiliate her like this. Brandon started walking toward the side exit. The crowd murmured like angry bees. Some people were recording everything on their phones. By tonight, this disaster would be all over social media. Kesha wanted to run, to hide, to disappear into the floor. "Stop!" One word, deep and commanding. The voice came from the back of the hall, near the main entrance. Everyone turned to look, including Kesha. Her vision was blurry from crying, but she could make out a tall figure standing in the doorway. The man stepped into the light, and Kesha's breath caught in her throat. He was the most striking man she had ever seen. He looked Korean, with sharp cheekbones and dark eyes that seemed to see everything. His black hair was styled perfectly. He wore an expensive black suit that probably cost more than her car. The way he walked spoke of power and danger. Each step was smooth and deliberate, like a panther stalking through tall grass. The guests parted like the Red Sea as he made his way down the aisle. Nobody said a word. The silence was so complete that Kesha could hear her own breathing. She noticed several men in the crowd go pale when they saw him. A woman near the front actually clutched her pearls and whispered something that sounded like a prayer. He stopped right in front of the altar. Up close, he was even more impressive. He had to be at least 6 feet tall. His presence filled the entire space. When his dark eyes locked onto Kesha's face, she felt electricity shoot through her body. Nobody had ever looked at her like that before, like she was precious, like she was beautiful. "My name is Sung Min," he said. His voice was smooth like expensive whiskey, "and I will marry her." The hall exploded with shocked voices. Brandon spun around, his face twisted with confusion and anger. "Who the hell are you?" Sungmin didn't even glance at him. He kept his eyes on Kesha, someone who knows value when he sees it. Kesha's mind spun in circles. This had to be a dream. Men like this didn't exist in real life. They definitely didn't volunteer to marry rejected brides at ruined weddings. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "You can't just walk in here and take over someone else's wedding," Brandon sputtered. He tried to sound tough, but Kesha heard the fear creeping into his voice. Now Sungmin did look at him. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "You made it very clear this isn't your wedding anymore. You walked away. I'm simply stepping in." A man in the front row stood up quickly. He was older, wearing an expensive suit, and he looked terrified. "Mr. Sungmin, sir, we didn't know you would be here. This is a great honor." Other men started standing too, bowing slightly. Kesha noticed Brandon's father had gone completely white. He grabbed his son's arm and yanked him backward. "Brandon, be quiet," he hissed. "But Dad, he can't just take my bride. She's not your bride. You said so yourself." His father's voice shook. "Don't say another word." Sungmin turned back to Kesha. He reached out and gently wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. The touch sent shivers racing down her spine. "I know this is strange. I know you're confused and hurt, but I promise you, if you let me, I will spend every day proving that you deserve so much better than him." Kesha's voice came out as barely a whisper. "Why? You don't even know me." A small smile touched his lips. It transformed his face from intimidating to breathtaking. "I know more than you think. You work in accounting at Chen Industries. You're brilliant with numbers. You volunteer at the animal shelter every Saturday. You make the best lemon cake in Miami. And you deserve someone who sees how extraordinary you are." Her eyes went wide. "How do you know all that?" "Because I own Chen Industries," he said softly. "I've been watching you for 6 months, Kesha, waiting for the right moment." This should have scared her. Some stranger had been watching her, but the way he said her name, like it was something sacred, made her heart race for entirely different reasons, and his eyes held no cruelty, no disgust, only warmth and something that looked almost like hunger. "This is insane," she whispered. "Yes," he agreed. "But is staying here, humiliated in front of everyone, any less insane? Come with me. Let me show you what you're worth." He held out his hand. Kesha stared at it. This was crazy, absolutely crazy. She didn't know this man. He could be dangerous. He clearly was dangerous based on how everyone was acting. But then she looked at Brandon, who was whispering angrily with his father. She thought about facing all these people, about the videos that were already spreading online, about going home alone to her empty apartment. She took Sungmin's hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and strong. The smile he gave her made her knees weak. He turned to address the crowd. "The wedding will continue. Same time, same place. 1 week from today. Anyone who wants to celebrate with us is welcome. Anyone who doesn't can leave now." Then he led Kesha down the aisle. She clutched her bouquet in one hand and held onto him with the other. Her white dress flowed behind her like a cloud. People stared as they passed, but she kept her eyes forward, on him, on this mysterious stranger who appeared out of nowhere like something from a fairy tale. A black limousine waited outside, sleek and polished. A man in a dark suit opened the door. Sungmin helped Kesha inside first, then slid in beside her. The door closed, shutting out the chaos of the wedding hall. They sat in silence for a moment as the car pulled away. Kesha's mind was racing. What had she just done? Who was this man really? What did he want from her? Sungmin reached over and took her hand again. "Breathe," he said gently. "You're safe. I promise." "Who are you really?" she asked. He looked at her with those dark, intense eyes. "Someone who's been waiting a very long time for you, and now that I have you, I'm never letting you go." The way he said it, low and possessive, sent heat flooding through Kesha's body. This was dangerous. He was dangerous. But as Miami's skyline blurred past the window and his thumb traced circles on her palm, she realized she didn't want to run. She wanted to know what happened next. The limousine glided through Miami's streets as the sun began to set. Kesha watched the city lights flicker to life outside the tinted windows. Her wedding dress felt tight around her chest, making it hard to breathe. Or maybe that was just the panic settling in. "Where are we going?" she asked, breaking the silence. Sungmin sat beside her, completely relaxed, like kidnapping brides was something he did every Tuesday. "Somewhere safe, somewhere we can talk without 300 people recording us." "You just crashed my wedding." "Your failed wedding," he corrected gently. "There's a difference." Kesha pulled her hand away from his, suddenly needing space. "This is crazy. I don't know you. You could be anyone. You could be dangerous." "I am dangerous," he said simply. His honesty startled her. "But never to you." She turned to face him fully. In the dim light of the car, he looked even more handsome, which seemed impossible. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass. "Why me? There are a million beautiful women in Miami. Thin women, women who actually know you." Sungmin's expression softened. He reached up and tucked a loose curl behind her ear. The gesture was so intimate that Kesha's breath hitched. 6 months ago, I came to Chen Industries for a surprise inspection. I wanted to see how my managers were treating employees when they didn't know I was watching. I saw you in the break room, sharing your lunch with the new intern who forgot hers. Then I watched you spend your entire lunch break helping her understand the company's accounting system. Kesha remembered that day. The intern had been close to tears, overwhelmed by everything. That's just being nice? No, that's being extraordinary, Sungmin said. Later that week, I saw your supervisor take credit for your work on a major project. You knew he did it. Everyone knew he did it. But you said nothing because you didn't want to cause problems. You just kept working, kept being brilliant. Heat crept up Kesha's neck. You were spying on me. I was learning about you, he corrected. I started looking forward to going to the office, just to catch glimpses of you, the way you hum while you work, how you always bring coffee to the security guard at the front desk. That smile you give even when people don't deserve it. His voice dropped lower. And yes, I noticed how beautiful you are. Your curves, your skin, those eyes that see the good in everyone, you captivated me completely. Nobody had ever talked to her like this. Kesha felt tears threatening again, but for a different reason this time. Why didn't you just ask me out like a normal person? Sungmin's laugh was dark, because I'm not a normal person. When I saw the announcement of your engagement to Brandon, I did research. I knew his type. Spoiled, cruel, would never appreciate what he had. I hoped I was wrong. I bought a last-minute invitation to the wedding, telling myself I would just make sure you were happy. He shook his head. But when I saw him humiliate you like that, I couldn't stay silent anymore. The car turned off the highway onto a private road. Palm trees lined both sides, their fronds swaying in the evening breeze. Kesha could smell salt water through the air vents. What do you do, exactly? She asked. Everyone at the wedding looked terrified of you. Sungmin was quiet for a moment. I run several businesses. Some are completely legal. Others exist in the shadows. I deal with people who can't go to the police for help. I solve problems that regular law can't touch. So, you're a criminal. I'm a businessman who operates outside traditional rules, he said carefully. But I have my own code. I don't hurt innocent people. I protect those who can't protect themselves, and I always keep my promises. The mansion appeared like something from a dream. 3 stories of white stone and glass, perched right on the edge of the ocean. Lights glowed warm and golden from inside. A fountain sparkled in the circular driveway. Kesha had seen houses like this in magazines, but never imagined standing in front of one. The driver opened her door. Sungmin came around and offered his hand again. This time, Kesha took it without hesitation. His grip was firm and reassuring. Inside, the mansion was even more impressive. White marble floors reflected the light from crystal chandeliers. Massive windows showed the ocean stretching out forever. The furniture looked expensive and comfortable at the same time. A woman in her 50s appeared, wearing a simple black dress. Mr. Sungmin, welcome home. Shall I prepare the guest room? No, thank you, Mrs. Chen. Kesha will take the master suite. I'll use the room on the 3rd floor. Kesha's eyes widened. Wait, I'm staying here? Tonight? Sungmin turned to her. Unless you want to go back to your apartment where reporters are probably already waiting. The video from today has gone viral. Your address isn't hard to find. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't thought about that. My things are all at my place. Give Mrs. Chen your sizes. She'll have everything you need by morning. He gestured toward the back of the house. Would you like to see the beach? It's private. Nobody can bother us there. Kesha should have said no. She should have called a cab, gone home, dealt with the mess like an adult. But something about Sungmin pulled at her. Maybe it was how he looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Maybe it was the way her skin tingled every time he touched her. Okay, she whispered. They walked through the house and out onto a wooden deck. Steps led down to white sand that glowed silver in the moonlight. The ocean whispered against the shore. Stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. It was the most beautiful thing Kesha had ever seen. Sungmin removed his jacket and tie, draping them over the deck railing. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing strong forearms. Then he kicked off his expensive shoes and stepped onto the sand. Kesha laughed. You're going to ruin your suit. I have 100 suits. I only have one chance at this moment with you. Her heart fluttered. She reached down and pulled off her heels, then gathered up her dress so she could walk. The sand was cool and soft between her toes. She joined him at the water's edge, where tiny waves lapped at their feet. I meant what I said in the car, Sungmin said quietly. I will protect you. From Brandon. From anyone who tries to hurt you. From the whole world if necessary. Why? Kesha asked. What do you want from me? He turned to face her fully. The moonlight painted his features in silver and shadow. Everything, your time, your attention, your thoughts. I want to know what makes you laugh and what makes you cry. I want to feed you breakfast and argue with you about which movies are best. I want to watch you succeed and celebrate every victory. He stepped closer. And yes, I want to touch you, kiss you, make you feel things you've never felt before. Kesha's whole body went hot despite the cool ocean breeze. That's very direct. I don't believe in playing games, not with something this important. His hand came up to cup her cheek. His thumb brushed across her lower lip. Tell me to stop, and I will. Tell me you want to leave, and I'll drive you home myself. But if you stay, understand that I'm not looking for something casual. When I commit, it's forever. She should have been scared. This was happening too fast, but looking into his eyes, Kesha saw nothing but honesty and heat, desire that made her feel powerful instead of ashamed. "Kiss me," she breathed. Sungmin didn't need to be asked twice. He pulled her close, one hand on her waist and the other sliding into her hair. When his lips met hers, Kesha felt like lightning struck her body. The kiss started gentle, almost questioning. His lips were soft and warm. He tasted like mint and something darker, something thrilling. Then Kesha's hands gripped his shirt and everything changed. Sungmin made a low sound in his throat and deepened the kiss. His tongue traced the seam of her lips, and she opened for him immediately. Heat exploded through her veins. His hands tightened on her waist, pulling her flush against him. She could feel every hard plane of his body through her dress. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Kesha felt dizzy. Her lips were swollen and tingling. Sungmin looked at her like a man starving, like she was everything he needed. "Stay," he said, his voice rough. "Not just tonight. Stay with me. Let me show you what it feels like to be cherished." Kesha knew this was reckless, knew she was diving into deep water without checking for rocks. But standing on this beach in the moonlight, wrapped in the arms of a dangerous man who looked at her like she hung the stars, she couldn't bring herself to care. "Okay," she whispered against his lips. "I'll stay." 3 weeks had passed since Kesha moved into the mansion. 3 weeks of living in a world she never knew existed. Every morning started the same way. She would wake up in the huge master bedroom with its ocean view, and Sungmin would already be there with breakfast on a silver tray. "You don't have to do this every day," Kesha said on a Thursday morning, propping herself up against the pillows. "You probably have important business things to handle." Sungmin set the tray across her lap. Perfectly scrambled eggs, fresh fruit, toast with butter melting into golden pools. Nothing is more important than this. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching her eat with an intensity that made her self-conscious at first. But she was getting used to it now. The way he looked at her like she was the most fascinating person alive. "What's on your schedule today?" she asked between bites of strawberry. "Meetings until noon. Then I thought I'd teach you some self-defense moves. You should know how to protect yourself." He reached over and wiped a drop of juice from her chin. The casual intimacy of the gesture made her stomach flip. "What about you?" Kesha had been thinking about this for days. "I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. I can't just live here forever, eating your food and sleeping in your bed." "Why not?" Sungmin asked simply. "Because I need to work. I need purpose. I've always wanted to open a bakery, but that takes money and planning and permits." She sighed. "Plus, I'm technically still employed at Chen Industries, but I haven't been to work since the wedding disaster." "You quit that job 2 weeks ago. I had Mrs. Chen handle the paperwork." Kesha nearly dropped her fork. "You what?" "Your supervisor was stealing your work. The environment was toxic. You deserved better." Sungmin's expression was matter-of-fact. "As for the bakery, I own a commercial property in South Beach that's been sitting empty. It's yours if you want it. I can't just take a building from you. Consider it an investment. I believe in you." He stood and kissed the top of her head. "Think about it. I'll see you this afternoon for training." After he left, Kesha sat in bed, mind spinning. This was her life now, living with a man who casually gave away buildings and made her breakfast every morning, a man who was gradually stealing her heart piece by piece. That afternoon, in the mansion's private gym, Sungmin taught her how to break someone's grip. His hands wrapped around her wrists, firm but careful. "Twist toward my thumb," he instructed. "That's the weakest part of any grip." Kesha followed his direction and broke free easily. That actually works. Everything I teach you works. Again. They practiced for an hour. By the end, Kesha was sweating and breathing hard, but she felt powerful. Sungmin watched her with approval and something hotter burning in his dark eyes. A man appeared in the gym doorway. He was tall and lean, with kind eyes and black hair falling across his forehead. "Boss, we need to leave in an hour if we're going to make the Vegas flight." "Thank you, Taehyun." Sungmin turned to Kesha. "I have business in Las Vegas tonight, a dinner meeting. I'd like you to come with me." Kesha wiped sweat from her forehead with a towel. "To a business meeting? Won't I be in the way?" "You'll be by my side. That's where you belong." Taehyun stepped into the gym fully. Over the past weeks, he'd become something like a friend to Kesha. He brought her books from the library, taught her card games, and made her laugh with stories about Sungmin's more ridiculous business rivals. "Say yes," Taehyun urged with a grin. "Vegas is beautiful at night. Plus, the boss is insufferable when you're not around. He checks his phone every 5 minutes." Sungmin shot him a look that would have terrified most people. Taehyun just laughed. "Okay," Kesha agreed. "But I don't have anything fancy enough to wear to a business dinner in Las Vegas." "Already handled," Sungmin said. "Mrs. Chen has 3 options waiting in your room." 4 hours later, Kesha stood in front of a mirror in a Las Vegas hotel suite, barely recognizing herself. The dress was deep emerald green, hugging every curve of her body. It had long sleeves and a neckline that showed just enough to be interesting. Her hair was styled in soft curls. The makeup artist Sungmin hired had made her skin glow. "You look like a queen," Sungmin said from the doorway. He wore a charcoal grey suit that fit him like it was painted on. His hair was styled back from his face, showing his sharp features. "I look expensive," Kesha corrected, turning to face him. "This dress probably costs more than my car did." He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her against him. "You look priceless. There's a difference." The dinner was at an exclusive restaurant on the top floor of a casino. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the glittering Vegas Strip below. The room was full of men in expensive suits and women dripping with jewellery. Everyone seemed to know Sungmin. They nodded with respect as he passed, Kesha's hand tucked securely in his. At their table, Sungmin introduced her to various business associates. Kesha smiled and shook hands, trying to remember names. Taehyun sat on her other side, keeping up a quiet commentary that made her feel less nervous. Then a man approached their table. He was older, maybe 50, with grey hair and cold blue eyes. Something about him made Kesha's skin crawl. "Sungmin," the man said smoothly. "I heard you acquired something new recently. Wanted to see for myself." Sungmin's entire demeanour changed. His hand tightened on Kesha's. "Victor Kane, I didn't know you were invited to this dinner. I go where I please." Victor's eyes slid over Kesha like oil. "So this is the rejected bride everyone's talking about. I saw the video. Quite entertaining." Kesha felt her face heat with shame. Sungmin started to stand, but Victor kept talking. "I have to wonder what you see in her, though. She's rather large, isn't she? Not exactly the type a man of your status usually keeps around." Victor smirked. "Then again, maybe you just felt sorry for her." The words hit Kesha like physical blows. All her insecurities came rushing back. Maybe Victor was right. Maybe Sungmin was just being kind. Maybe this whole thing was pity. Sungmin moved so fast that Kesha barely saw it. 1 second he was sitting. The next, he had Victor by the throat, slamming him against the nearest wall. The entire restaurant went silent. "Let me make something very clear," Sungmin said, his voice deadly calm. "Kesha is mine. She is perfect exactly as she is, and if you or anyone else ever disrespects her again, I will end you." Not hurt you, not scare you, end you completely. Do you understand? Victor's face had gone purple. He managed a tiny nod. Sung Min released him, and the man collapsed to the floor, gasping. Sung Min turned back to the table, adjusting his suit jacket calmly. "We're leaving." Taehyun, handle the rest of the meeting. He took Kesha's hand and led her out of the restaurant. Nobody tried to stop them. In the elevator back to their suite, Kesha was shaking. Not from fear, from something else entirely. The way Sung-min had defended her, the raw violence barely contained beneath his polished surface, it awakened something primal inside her. The elevator doors opened. They walked to their suite in silence. As soon as the door closed behind them, Sung-min turned to her. "I'm sorry you had to see that side of me. I know it was frightening." Kesha stepped close to him, pressing her palms against his chest. She could feel his heart pounding. "I'm not frightened. I'm grateful. Nobody has ever stood up for me like that." "Get used to it," he said roughly, "because I meant every word. You're mine, Kesha, and I protect what's mine." She looked up at him through her lashes. "Then stop talking and show me." Something snapped in Sungmin's control. He cupped her face and kissed her hard, all the gentleness from their beach kiss replaced with raw hunger. Kesha kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands fisting in his shirt. They stumbled towards the bedroom, mouths never separating. Sungmin's hands found the zipper of her dress and pulled it down slowly. The green fabric pooled at her feet. He stepped back to look at her, standing there in just her lace underwear. "Perfect," he breathed. "Absolutely perfect." Kesha had always hated her body. Too big, too soft, too much. But the way Sungmin looked at her, with worship and desire, made her feel like a goddess. She reached for his shirt buttons, fumbling with them in her eagerness. He helped her, shrugging out of the shirt to reveal a body that made her mouth go dry. Lean muscle, smooth skin, a few scars that told stories she wanted to learn. When they fell onto the bed together, skin against skin, Kesha felt like she was burning from the inside out. Sungmin kissed every inch of her neck, her shoulders, the curve of her stomach. His hands traced her hips, her thighs, learning every dip and swell. "You're shaking," he murmured against her skin. "I've never felt like this before," she admitted. "Like I'm going to explode." "Then let go. I've got you." When they finally came together, Kesha did explode. Colours burst behind her eyes. Sungmin moved with controlled power, watching her face, learning what made her gasp and arch. He whispered words in Korean that she didn't understand, but felt in her bones. They made love for hours, learning each other's bodies, pushing boundaries, discovering what brought the most pleasure. Kesha had never felt so desired, so cherished, so completely safe while being so vulnerable. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty and satisfied. Sungmin traced lazy patterns on her back. Outside the window, Vegas blazed with light even though it was nearly dawn. "Stay with me," Sungmin said quietly. "Not just in my house. Stay with me in every way. Be mine completely." Kesha lifted her head to look at him. His dark eyes were serious, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen before. "I'm already yours," she whispered. "I think I have been, since you walked down that aisle." He kissed her softly, sweetly, sealing the promise between them. And as the sun began to rise over the desert, Kesha knew she'd found something she didn't even know she was looking for. She'd found home. New York City in October was beautiful. The leaves were turning gold and red, and the air had that perfect, crisp quality that made Kesha want to walk everywhere. Sungmin's Manhattan penthouse was located in Tribeca, with massive windows overlooking the Hudson River. It was different from the Florida mansion, but just as luxurious. Kesha stood in what would soon be her bakery, breathing in the smell of fresh paint. The space was perfect. High ceilings with exposed brick, large windows that let in natural light. Enough room for display cases and tables. Sung-min had been true to his word. He'd handed her the keys 2 weeks ago and told her to make it exactly what she wanted. The ovens arrive tomorrow, Sung-min said, coming up behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. And the contractor says the kitchen will be inspection ready by Friday. Kesha leaned back against his chest. This is really happening. I'm opening a bakery in Manhattan. You're going to be the most successful bakery in the city. He kissed her temple. I have complete faith in you. Over the past month, their relationship had shifted into something deeper. They were partners now, in every sense. Kesha spent her mornings planning the bakery and her afternoons in Sung-min's home office, where he'd started asking her opinion on business matters. It turned out that running an underground empire required sophisticated accounting, money needed to be moved, investments tracked, legitimate businesses maintained as covers. Kesha's sharp mind for numbers made her invaluable. She could spot discrepancies that others missed, find patterns in financial records, suggest solutions to complicated problems. You're wasted on baking, Tae-hyun had joked last week. You should be running a hedge fund. But Kesha loved baking. She loved creating something with her hands, watching people's faces light up when they tasted something delicious. The bakery was her dream, and Sung-min supported it completely. The bell above the bakery door chimed. Kesha turned, expecting to see the contractor. Instead, Brandon stood in the doorway, looking nothing like the arrogant man from the wedding. His suit was wrinkled. His hair was messy. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Sung-min's entire body went rigid. He stepped in front of Kesha protectively. You have 3 seconds to leave before I remove you myself. Please, Brandon said, his voice cracking. I just need to talk to Kesha. 5 minutes. Kesha put her hand on Sung-min's arm. She felt the tension thrumming through his muscles. It's okay. Let him say whatever he came to say. Sung-min didn't move. I'll be right here. If he says one wrong word, he's gone. Brandon stepped further into the bakery, keeping his distance. Kesha, I came to apologize. What I did at the wedding was unforgivable. I was cruel and stupid, and I've regretted it every single day since. Why are you really here, Brandon? Kesha asked coldly. You made your feelings very clear. My family lost everything, Brandon blurted out. After I insulted you, after what happened with Sung-min, all our business partners pulled out. My father's company went bankrupt. We lost the house, the cars, everything. My parents aren't speaking to me. They blame me for ruining their lives. Kesha felt a flicker of sympathy, but it died quickly. So you came here hoping I'd what? Ask Sung-min to fix things for you. I came to beg for forgiveness, Brandon said desperately. And yes, to ask if there's anything you can do. I know I don't deserve it. I know I was horrible. But please, Kesha, my family is suffering. Sung-min's laugh was harsh. Your family is suffering because of choices you made. Actions have consequences. Brandon's face crumpled. I know. I was raised to think that appearance was everything. That image mattered more than character. I see now how wrong that was. He looked at Kesha with tears in his eyes. You deserved so much better than how I treated you. I'm truly sorry. Kesha studied him for a long moment. Part of her, the part that had been humiliated in front of hundreds of people, wanted him to suffer more. But another part, the part that Sung-min loved, couldn't find satisfaction in someone else's pain. I accept your apology, she said quietly, but I won't help you. Not because I'm cruel, but because you need to learn this lesson. You need to understand that how you treat people matters, that words have power, and consequences. She stepped closer to Sung-min, who immediately pulled her against his side. I've moved on, Brandon. I'm with someone who sees my worth, who celebrates me instead of tearing me down. I'm happy. Happier than I ever would have been with you. Brandon's shoulders slumped in defeat. I can see that. He looks at you like you're everything. He wiped his eyes. I hope you have a good life, Kesha. You deserve it. He turned and left without another word. The bell chimed softly as the door closed behind him. Sung-min cupped Kesha's face in his hands. Are you all right? I'm perfect, she said honestly. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. That evening, after a long day of bakery planning, Sung-min told Kesha to dress warmly. He was taking her somewhere special. They rode the elevator to the top floor of the building, but instead of stopping at the penthouse, they continued up. The rooftop was transformed. String lights hung between planted trees, creating a canopy of warm light. A garden had been installed, with flowers blooming in large planters. Comfortable furniture was arranged around a small fountain. The city sparkled around them like a jewel box. When did you do this? Kesha breathed, spinning in a circle to take it all in. I've been working on it for 3 weeks. Tae-hyun helped keep you distracted. Sung-min took her hand and led her to a cushioned bench near the fountain. I wanted to create a place that was just ours, where we could escape without leaving home. They sat close together, sharing warmth against the October chill. The city hummed below them, but up here, they existed in their own private world. Can I tell you something? Sung-min asked quietly. Something I've never told anyone. Always, Kesha said, taking his hand. He was silent for a long moment, staring out at the skyline. I grew up in Seoul, very poor. My father died when I was 8, leaving my mother with 3 children and no money. She worked 3 jobs, but it was never enough. When I was 14, she got sick. Cancer. We couldn't afford treatment. Kesha squeezed his hand, her heart aching for the boy he'd been. I watched her die slowly over 6 months. The whole time, I was helpless, useless. After she passed, I promised myself I would never be powerless again, never be poor again. His voice was rough with old pain. I did things I'm not proud of to survive, worked for people who taught me how the real world operates. Eventually, I was smart enough and ruthless enough to take over, to build something of my own. That's why you help people who can't go to the police, Kesha realised. Because you understand what it's like to have nowhere else to turn. Yes, but I also learned to keep everyone at arm's length. Emotions were weakness. Love was a liability. I had women, but never anyone who mattered. I built walls so high that nothing could get through. Turned to face her fully, his dark eyes intense. Until you. Kesha's breath caught. That day in the break room, when you shared your lunch with someone you barely knew, you broke something open inside me. I started watching you, studying you, trying to understand how you stayed so kind in a world that was often cruel. You'd been hurt. I could see it in your eyes, but you hadn't let it make you bitter. His thumb traced circles on her palm. I fell in love with you long before that wedding, Kesha. When I saw Brandon humiliate you, I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to have you, had to show you what you deserve. Tears streamed down Kesha's face. I love you too. I think I started falling the moment you walked down that aisle. You looked at me like I was precious, like I was worth saving. Nobody had ever looked at me like that before. Sung-min wiped her tears away gently. You saved me too. You reminded me that there's more to life than power and control, that being vulnerable with the right person isn't weakness, it's strength. He kissed her then, soft and sweet, and full of promise. Kesha melted into him, pouring everything she felt into the kiss. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "Take me inside," Kesha whispered against his lips. "I need you." They barely made it to the bedroom. Clothes disappeared in a trail from the rooftop door to the bed. This time, their lovemaking was different. Slower, deeper. Every touch was a confession. Every kiss was a promise. Sungmin took his time, mapping every inch of Kesha's body with his hands and mouth. He whispered how much he loved her curves, her softness, the way she responded to his touch. He made her feel like a work of art, something to be cherished and worshipped. When Kesha touched him in return, exploring the hard planes of his body, Sungmin trembled beneath her hands. She loved that she could affect him this way, that this powerful man surrendered completely to her. They moved together in perfect rhythm, finding a connection that went beyond physical. This was souls touching, hearts binding, two people becoming something more together than they ever were apart. Afterward, they lay tangled in the sheets, skin cooling in the air-conditioned bedroom. Kesha traced the scars on Sungmin's chest, each one a story from his difficult past. "Tell me about this one," she said softly, touching a long mark along his ribs. "Knife fight when I was 17. I was protecting my sister from a man who wouldn't take no for an answer. And this one," she touched his shoulder. "Gunshot wound. 3 years ago. A deal went wrong." She kissed each scar gently. "Thank you for surviving, for being here with me now." Sungmin pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "Thank you for seeing past the monster everyone else sees, for loving all of me, even the dark parts." "You're not a monster," Kesha insisted fiercely. "You're a man who does what's necessary to protect the people you care about. There's nothing monstrous about that." They fell asleep, wrapped around each other, hearts beating in sync. Outside, New York City never slept, always moving, always changing. But in this moment, in this bed, time stood still. Kesha had found her home, not in a place, but in a person. In strong arms that held her close, in dark eyes that saw her true worth, in a dangerous heart that beat only for her. She was completely, utterly, perfectly in love. And she knew, without any doubt, that Sungmin felt exactly the same way. The bakery had been open for 2 months and was already a success. Lines formed every morning for Kesha's lemon cake and chocolate croissants. Food bloggers raved about her cinnamon rolls. She'd even been featured in a New York Times article about the city's best new dessert spots. When a potential investor from Boston reached out, wanting to discuss opening a second location, Kesha was thrilled. Sungmin had been less enthusiastic. "I don't like you travelling without me," he'd said that morning, watching her pack an overnight bag. "It's just Boston. I'll be back tomorrow night." Kesha kissed him softly. "Besides, Taehyun is coming with me. I'll be perfectly safe." Sungmin had pulled her close, holding her longer than usual. "Call me the moment you arrive, and again before you go to bed, and the second anything feels wrong." "You worry too much," she teased, not understanding the instinct that was making him tense. Now, sitting in a cold warehouse with her hands tied behind her back, Kesha understood. She should have listened to that worry in his voice. The meeting in Boston had been legitimate. She'd met with the investor at a nice restaurant, discussed numbers and locations, felt excited about expanding. Taehyun had been with her the whole time, watching everything carefully. But when they'd walked back to their hotel, a van had pulled up. Men with guns had grabbed her before Taehyun could react. She'd heard him shout, heard gunfire, then someone had pressed a cloth over her face and everything went black. She'd woken up here. Concrete floors, metal walls, a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Her head pounded, her wrists burned from the rope. Fear sat like ice in her stomach. The metal door scraped open. Victor Kane walked in, looking pleased with himself. 2 large men flanked him. Finally awake. Good. Victor pulled up a chair and sat facing her. I hope my men weren't too rough. I need you conscious and able to talk. What do you want? Kesha's voice came out stronger than she felt. Simple. I want Sung-min to understand that he can't humiliate me without consequences. Victor's smile was cold. He embarrassed me in Las Vegas, made me look weak in front of important people. That's bad for business. So you kidnapped me? That's your big plan. You're his weakness. The only thing in this world he actually cares about. He'll do anything to get you back, including giving me what I want. Kesha's mind raced. She'd learned enough about Sung-min's world to understand how this worked. Victor would make demands. Sung-min would have to choose between his empire and her safety. Either way, Victor won. He'll kill you for this, Kesha said quietly. Victor laughed. He'll try, but I have you, and that changes everything. Back in New York, Sung-min's phone buzzed with a call from Taehyun. The moment he heard his friend's panicked voice, the world stopped. They took her. I tried to stop them. I got shot, but I'll live. Boss, they took Kesha. The phone shattered in Sung-min's grip. Around him, his home office suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. Rage, pure and absolute, flooded through him, not the controlled anger he used in business. This was something primal, something murderous. Everyone, now. He spoke into his backup phone, his voice deadly calm. Within an hour, 20 of his most trusted people filled his penthouse. Sung-min stood before them, and they all took an unconscious step back. They'd seen him angry before. This was different. This was a man who would burn the entire world to ash. Victor Kane took Kesha. Find him. I want every resource we have dedicated to this. Hack his accounts, track his people, tear apart every property he owns. I want her location within 6 hours. His tech specialist, a young woman named Dana, worked her laptop frantically. Boss, I'm picking up chatter on Kane's encrypted channels. They're in Boston, somewhere near the Port District. Narrow it down. 4 hours later, they had an address. An abandoned warehouse that Victor's company owned through 3 shell corporations. Sung-min gathered his team, checked his weapons, and became someone else entirely. Not the man who brought Kesha breakfast in bed. Not the gentle lover who whispered sweet words. This was the monster that people whispered about in fear. The assault on the warehouse was quick and brutal. Sung-min moved through Victor's guards like death itself. He felt nothing when they fell. No mercy, no hesitation. They'd taken his heart, and he would paint the walls with anyone who stood between them. Taehyun, despite his shoulder wound, fought beside him. Together, they cleared room after room. Sung-min's expensive suit was ruined with blood, none of it his. His dark eyes were empty of everything except purpose. Then, he found her. Kesha sat tied to a chair in a back room, a bruise forming on her cheek. The moment Sung-min saw it, something inside him shattered and reformed harder. Victor stood beside her, gun pointed at her head. 1 step closer, and she dies, Victor threatened. Sung-min stopped. For 3 heartbeats, he assessed the situation with the cold calculation that made him so dangerous. Then he smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing anyone in that room had ever seen. You were dead the moment you touched her. You just didn't know it yet. Everything happened in seconds. Sung-min moved with speed that shouldn't have been possible. He drew his gun and fired, hitting Victor's wrist. The man screamed, dropping his weapon. Before it hit the ground, Sung-min was on him. What followed was brutal. Sung-min beat Victor with his bare hands, each strike fueled by hours of fear and rage. When Victor fell, Sung-min pulled him up and did it again. and again. He didn't stop until Victor Kane stopped breathing entirely. Only then did Sungmin turn to Kesha. His hands, covered in blood, shook as he untied her ropes. "Did he hurt you? Tell me everywhere he hurt you." "I'm okay. I'm okay." Kesha threw her arms around him, not caring about the blood, not caring about anything except that he was here. "You came for me. Always. I will always come for you." His voice broke. "I thought I'd lost you." They flew to Seattle that night, to a safe house that nobody knew about. Sungmin refused to go back to New York until he was certain all of Victor's associates were dealt with. The house was modern and isolated, perched on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Kesha showered, washing away the terror of the day. When she came out, wrapped in a soft robe, she found Sungmin standing by the window. He'd cleaned up too, but his hands still shook slightly. She saw the cracks in his armor, the fear he'd been holding back. "Hey," she said softly, crossing to him. "I'm here. I'm safe. I killed him." Sungmin's voice was hollow. "I beat him to death with my bare hands while you watched. You saw the monster, Kesha. You saw what I really am." Kesha took his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. "I saw a man protecting the woman he loves. I saw someone who would move heaven and earth to keep me safe. There's nothing monstrous about that. I enjoyed it," he confessed, his voice breaking, hurting him, ending him. "For a moment, I wanted him to suffer more. He kidnapped me. He threatened to kill me. You had every right to feel that way." She pressed her forehead to his. "I love you, Sungmin. All of you. The gentleman who brings me breakfast. The warrior who tears apart anyone who threatens me. Every single part." A sob tore from his throat. This dangerous man who never showed weakness broke down in her arms. Kesha held him while he shook, while months of keeping everything controlled finally cracked open. When he finally lifted his head, his eyes were red but clear. "I'm done with all of it. The empire, the violence, the life that put you in danger." His hands cupped her face. "I'm walking away. I have enough legitimate businesses to support us forever. I want a clean life with you. Marriage, maybe children someday. Normal things. Are you sure? That world is all you've known. You're all I need to know." He kissed her deeply, pouring everything he felt into it. "Marry me, Kesha. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life keeping you safe and happy." "Yes," she breathed. "Yes to everything." They moved to the bedroom, need replacing fear. Sungmin undressed her, slowly, reverently, his hands worshipping every inch of skin. When he laid her on the bed, he covered her body with his, needing to feel her alive and whole beneath him. Their lovemaking was desperate and intense. Each touch was a reminder that they'd survived. Each kiss was a promise of forever. Sungmin moved inside her with controlled power, watching her face, memorizing every expression. When Kesha called his name and shattered around him, he followed immediately, emptying himself into her like he was giving her his soul. They made love twice more through the night, unable to get close enough, to feel enough, to prove they were really together. Between rounds, they talked about the future. Kesha's bakery expanding, Sungmin's legitimate business ventures, a wedding, small and private, maybe a house somewhere quiet where they could just be themselves. As dawn broke over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, they lay tangled together. Sungmin traced patterns on Kesha's back while she rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I almost lost you," he whispered. "I can't ever go through that again." "You didn't lose me. I'm right here." She lifted her head to look at him. "And I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me forever." "Forever sounds perfect." He kissed her softly. I love you more than I knew it was possible to love someone. I love you too, my dangerous, gentle, complicated, perfect man. Outside, the world continued turning. But in this moment, in this bed, they had everything they needed. Love that had been tested and proved unbreakable, trust earned through fire, and a future stretching ahead of them, full of possibility. Sungmin had spent his whole life fighting. Now, finally, he could rest. Because he'd found something worth more than power or control or empire. He'd found home in Kesha's arms, and that was worth everything. 6 months had changed everything. Kesha stood in front of a full-length mirror in a beachfront villa in Maui, barely recognizing the woman staring back at her. Her wedding dress was simple but stunning. White silk that flowed like water over her curves, with delicate lace sleeves and a neckline that showed just enough. Her hair was styled in loose waves with fresh white plumeria flowers tucked behind her ear. She looked happy, she looked loved. "You're glowing," her sister Nichelle said, adjusting the flowers in Kesha's hair. "I've never seen you like this." Kesha smiled at her reflection. "I've never felt like this. Like everything finally makes sense." Nichelle's eyes got misty. "I'm so happy for you. When I saw that video of your first wedding, I wanted to fly to Miami and punch Brandon in the face. But then Sungmin walked down that aisle and I knew he was your person. He saved me," Kesha said softly. "In every way, a person can be saved." The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of change. True to his word, Sungmin had walked away from his criminal empire. He'd transferred control to trusted associates who would keep things running, but he was out, completely. Now he focused on his legitimate businesses, real estate, tech investments, import companies, everything legal, everything clean. Kesha's bakery had exploded beyond her wildest dreams. The Manhattan location was so successful that she'd opened 4 more, one in Brooklyn, another in Boston, 2 in Miami. She employed 30 people now. Food magazines wrote about her. Celebrity chefs came to try her desserts. She was living a dream she'd barely let herself imagine. But the best part was coming home every night to Sungmin. To a man who looked at her like she hung the moon, who supported every dream, celebrated every success, and held her through every moment of doubt. "It's time," Nichelle said, squeezing her hand. "Your groom is waiting." The ceremony was on the beach at sunset. Only 20 guests, all people who truly mattered. Taehyun stood beside Sungmin as best man, looking handsome in a light grey suit. Mrs. Chen dabbed her eyes with a tissue. A few of Kesha's close friends from New York sat in white chairs, arranged in the sand. But Kesha only had eyes for Sungmin. He stood at the end of a path marked by tiki torches, the ocean behind him turning gold and pink in the setting sun. He wore a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up and light grey pants. No tie, casual but elegant. When he saw Kesha, his whole face transformed, love and wonder and joy all mixed together. Kesha walked toward him barefoot, her dress trailing in the sand. No one gave her away because she wasn't property to be transferred. She came to him as an equal, as a partner, as a woman choosing her own future. When she reached him, Sungmin took both her hands. His eyes were already glassy with tears. "You're so beautiful," he whispered. "So are you," she whispered back. The officiant, a kind older woman with flowers in her silver hair, smiled at them both. "We're gathered here in paradise to witness the marriage of Kesha and Sungmin. This is a love story that started with courage, with someone seeing value where others saw nothing, with 2 hearts finding each other against all odds." She nodded to Sungmin. "Your vows." Sungmin cleared his throat. His hands shook slightly as he held Kesha's. 6 months ago, I walked into a wedding and did the craziest thing I'd ever done. I claimed a woman I barely knew as mine. Everyone thought I was insane. Maybe I was. But from the first moment I saw you, Kesha, I knew you were the one I'd been waiting for my whole life. Tears rolled down Kesha's cheeks. Sungmin gently wiped them away, his touch tender. You taught me that love isn't weakness. That being vulnerable with the right person is the bravest thing you can do. You saw past the monster everyone feared and found the man underneath, the man who just wanted to be worthy of someone like you. His voice broke. I promise to spend every single day for the rest of my life proving that you're the most precious thing in my world. I promise to support your dreams, celebrate your victories, and hold you through every challenge. I promise to love every part of you, exactly as you are, for as long as I live. Kesha was fully crying now, happy tears that she didn't bother wiping away. The officiant nodded to her. Sungmin, Kesha began, her voice thick with emotion. When Brandon left me at that altar, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd never be good enough, pretty enough, worthy enough. Then you appeared like something from a dream and showed me I was wrong about everything. She squeezed his hands. You taught me that real love doesn't see flaws. It sees a whole person and chooses them anyway. You made me believe in myself when I'd stopped believing. You gave me courage to chase dreams I'd given up on. You protected me, supported me, and loved me so fiercely that I had no choice but to love myself too. Sungmin's tears matched hers now. Two people completely undone by love. I promise to be your partner in everything, to stand beside you in success and struggle, to remind you that walking away from darkness takes more strength than staying in it. I promise to love you with everything I have, in every way I can, for all the days we're given. She smiled through her tears. You saved me, but we saved each other. And I can't wait to spend forever showing you how grateful I am that you said, I will. The officiant beamed at them both. By the power vested in me by the state of Hawaii, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Sungmin pulled Kesha close and kissed her like they were the only two people in the world, like she was air and he'd been drowning. The small group of guests cheered and clapped. Taehyun whistled. Nichelle sobbed happy tears. When they finally broke apart, both laughing and crying, the sun was setting behind them in a blaze of orange and purple. Perfect. Everything was absolutely perfect. The reception was casual and intimate. A long table set up on the beach with string lights overhead, fresh seafood, tropical drinks, Kesha's homemade wedding cake that she'd insisted on baking herself. Music played softly from speakers hidden in the palm trees. Sungmin never let go of Kesha's hand, even while eating, while talking to guests, while cutting the cake. He needed that constant contact, that proof that she was really his wife now. When it was time for their first dance, he led her to a cleared area of sand. The song was slow and romantic. They swayed together, foreheads touching, lost in their own world. I have something to tell you, Kesha whispered. Something I found out this morning. Sungmin pulled back to look at her, concern flickering in his eyes. What is it? She took his hand and placed it low on her belly. We're going to have a baby. I'm about 8 weeks along. For a moment, Sungmin just stared at her. Then, his face crumpled with joy. He dropped to his knees, right there on the beach, pressing his forehead against her stomach. A baby. We're having a baby. Kesha ran her fingers through his hair, laughing and crying at the same time. Are you happy? He looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. Happy doesn't even begin to cover it. You've given me everything, Kesha. A reason to be better. A home. A family. I never thought I'd have any of this." He stood and kissed her deeply, not caring that everyone was watching. When they pulled apart, the guests were clapping again. Taehyun shouted congratulations. Nichelle was crying even harder than before. The honeymoon stretched out before them like a dream. They spent 2 weeks in their private villa. Days were for swimming in the crystal clear water, walking on white sand beaches, exploring hidden waterfalls. Nights were for making love under the stars, talking about their future, planning for the baby that was growing inside Kesha. Seungmin was obsessed with her belly. Even though she wasn't showing yet, he touched it constantly, talked to it, told their baby about how amazing their mother was. "Do you think it's a boy or girl?" he asked one night as they lay in bed, the ocean breeze drifting through open windows. "I don't care as long as they're healthy," Kesha said, "though I hope they get your eyes. I hope they get your heart, your kindness, your strength." He kissed her softly. "I hope they know how lucky they are to have you as their mother." On their last night in Hawaii, they sat on the beach watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of pink, orange and purple. Waves lapped gently at the shore. Seungmin sat behind Kesha, his arms wrapped around her, his hands resting protectively on her still flat stomach. "Do you ever think about that day?" Kesha asked quietly. "The wedding?" "Every single day," Seungmin admitted. "Best decision I ever made. Walking down that aisle, claiming you as mine. People thought I was crazy. Maybe I was. But it was the kind of crazy that changes everything." Kesha leaned back against his chest. "Brandon actually did me a favour. If he'd married me, I would have spent my whole life wondering what real love felt like. Now I know. It feels like this. Like coming home." "You are my home," Seungmin whispered against her hair. "You and this baby. You're everything I need." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun sink below the horizon. The sky darkened to deep purple, then navy blue. Stars began to appear, thousands of them, more than you could ever see in the city. "Promise me something," Kesha said. "Anything. Promise that we'll always be honest with each other, that we'll fight for this, even when it's hard, that we'll never take each other for granted. I promise, every day for the rest of our lives." He turned her face so he could kiss her. "You saved me, Kesha. From a life where nothing mattered except power. You showed me that love is the only thing worth fighting for." "We saved each other," she corrected softly. "That's what real love does. It makes both people better." As the stars filled the Hawaiian sky, Seungmin held his wife and their unborn child, feeling more complete than he ever thought possible. He'd spent years building an empire, accumulating power and wealth and influence. None of it had filled the emptiness inside him. But this woman, with her generous heart and beautiful spirit, had filled every crack and crevice. She'd shown him that being vulnerable wasn't weakness, that choosing love over fear was the bravest thing anyone could do. "I love you," he whispered, "more than words can express." "I love you too," Kesha replied, "always and forever. Forever." That's exactly what they had. A love story that started with rejection and ended in the most beautiful beginning. A future full of bakeries and babies, laughter and challenges, ordinary moments made extraordinary by being together. Sometimes the most incredible love stories start when someone looks past the surface and sees who you really are, when someone says, "I will," when everyone else walks away, when two broken pieces find each other and become whole. As Seungmin and Kesha sat wrapped in each other's arms, watching the stars dance above the Hawaiian ocean, they knew one thing with absolute certainty. They were home. They were loved, and they were exactly where they were meant to be. Thank you so much for joining Kesha and Sungmin on their incredible journey from heartbreak to happiness. If this love story touched your heart, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss another romantic tale. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and what part of the story made your heart flutter the most. Did you love the moment Sungmin crashed the wedding, the passionate nights they shared, or maybe the beautiful ending with their baby on the way? We want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button and share this story with someone who believes in second chances and true love. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more amazing stories. Until next time, remember that your perfect love story might be just around the corner, waiting for someone brave enough to say, I will. See you in the next story.